Hey, what's up guys? Peswas here. Today we're gonna talk about Aperture. I'm gonna make some tea. This is my favorite tea brand, the Yogi. I have a manual lens and I'll show you what the Aperture really is. Instead of throwing a whole lot of math and all that stuff at you, I'm just gonna show you how Aperture actually looks like. And then we'll go outside, take some shots. Okay, so that is the Aperture. That little hole is the Aperture there. And I am going to control the Aperture with this control ring here. It's a completely manual lens. The camera doesn't control the Aperture here. You do, and this is how you do it, by turning the ring. 2 is a stop, 2.8 is a stop, 4 is a stop, 5.6 is a stop. Turning the ring, what is actually happening? When I'm turning the ring, I'm basically controlling the size of that hole. I'm stopping up, I'm stopping down. This is at f22, now I'm at f16, now I'm at f11, f8, f5.6, f4, 2.8, f2, okay? That's it. So basically that controls the amount of light that falls on the sensor. So if you want to let more light in, you open up. Want to cut down light falling onto your film, you want to stop it down. Besides controlling light, Aperture has another artistic thing that it controls for the film, and that's called depth of field. If I want to cut down light, I have 3 ways of doing it. Aperture, shutter, and ISO. But depending on what I want to express, I will now decide if I really want to cut down the light using Aperture. You really make an aesthetic choice, and that decision is based on what kind of depth of field you want for your picture. The more you open it up, the bigger the hole gets, the blurrier your background gets. Okay? The bigger the hole gets, the blurrier your background gets. And the smaller the hole, the sharper the background. Depth of field is the little slice that is in focus. So your background is blurry. It's not just the background, it's also the foreground. There is a little tiny bit of slice that is in focus, and that is the depth of field. Let's go. There are no tripods allowed on the Urban Lights area. I had no idea. So I had to go check my tripod into the box office. They require you to purchase a ticket to check anything in. And now they're setting up for a Friday night, free jazz night. So if you're in LA, you can come down here. It's a free show every Friday. Anyways, LACMA's not paying me to plug them in. I'm just saying it's a really good place. The lights just came on and we got a wrap here pretty soon. So let's dive in right through the lens. So here I have some pictures for you. I've already labeled them with the apertures. This is f2.8 200 millimeter. Now keep in mind, the larger the focal length of the lens, blurrier you're going to get the background to be with a larger aperture. If the aperture is wide open, so if it's at say 2.8, you are going to get a much blurrier background with a 200 millimeter lens than you are with a 16 millimeter lens. As you go down on the focal length, keeping the aperture the same, your depth of field is going to be larger. This is in focus. These guys are completely blurred. Same thing for the foreground. So your depth of field is really just about this much here. Going into f4, this guy is in focus. These guys are still blurry, but this pillar is a little clearer than this pillar here, right? So these pillars are the same distance. Same thing with 5.6. So this is not as blurry as in f4, right, or f2. The depth of field is slowly enlarging with a smaller aperture. Now it's a gradual transition. This is not as blurry, but it's still out of focus. You don't want to put your subject around here. You still want to put your subject around here. But your background really starts to get clobbered about, from here, as opposed to a 2.8. Your background's starting to get compressed right about from here. And it's a gradual transition. It's not like a hard cut. Here is f8. Again, you can see more things are clearly visible. The background is not as clobbered. The foreground is not as clobbered. f11, much larger depth of field. There's f16. Again, larger depth of field than f11. There is f32. You can still keep your subject here with f32 and get him in focus. You can keep him here. You can still get him in focus. You can keep him here. You'll get him in focus. Right about here, it starts to get out of focus, but still pretty visible. Same here, out of focus, but visible. Not like your f2.8, where it's starting to get like a solid color. There's another f32 I have of the pier. You guys are in focus. This guy is in focus. There's a pretty huge depth of field. f32 you can pretty much get everything in. With f16 is also a very popular aperture for landscape photography. For landscape photography, you probably want to use something a little wider angle. A wider angle lens on a f16 is going to give you a much larger depth of field than f16 on a 200mm lens. Hope you learned something in this video and hope it was useful for you. If you liked this video, hit the like button, hit subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye. To throw the background out of focus, what do you need to do? Do you need to open up the aperture or close it down? Do you need to make the hole bigger or smaller? Give me 3 seconds.